Right now, I'm really excited to welcome this gentleman into the studios 4 years ago. Has it really been 4 years?
It's actually, I'm on my 4th year at the moment.
Okay, you're on your 4th year. So it's been 3 and some change.
Right.
Jay Linnehan took over the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, an organization that those of us in the know knew about, but a lot of people weren't so sure what it was and what it did. Well, a lot more people know now, and it's doing an awful lot more because of the efforts of this man. Greater Lowell Community Foundation President and CEO Jay Linnehan is with us in studios. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on board this morning.
Pleasure to have you here.
On this cool February day.
Did you enjoy the walk over?
Yeah, the walk was nice. It's invigorating.
It wakes you right up, right?
It's invigorating for sure.
Who needs coffee when you can?
You got that right.
When you can walk in the cold weather. All right, so let me ask you this. Did you really know or get what the Greater Lowell Community Foundation was when you took the helm 3 and some change years ago now?
Well, I think I had clearly I had an idea, needless to say. I mean, I went through a process of an interview and I spent a little bit of time prior to that on the board. But to say honestly with regard to the depth and the breadth of what the Greater Lowell Community Foundation can do, I didn't know. I was sitting with board chair just the other day, Chet Sedlak, and he goes, "Is the Greater Lowell Community Foundation everything you thought it would be?" And I said, "No." And he wasn't quite sure what I meant by that. And I said, "It's so much more." I mean, to get into work with, folks that have the, desire of philanthropy, and for the foundation to be able to be a vehicle for that, and for the impact of that to be across so many of the nonprofits in the Lowell area, but outside the Lowell area as well. And as many, I worked at a college for 25 years, and I got to know a number of the nonprofits there and the needs in the community, but not at the depth that I've been doing it today, and the needs that exist out there, and the nonprofits that, do their work on a shoestring, and to have the ability to be able to help them a little bit along the way to achieve their mission has been extremely rewarding. So it's a pleasure for me to be having this job.
And not to pat your back a little bit too much, but it should be noted that this organization kind of seemed to be heading towards extinction at the time that you took over. And this is not to disparage anybody who was, because people were trying. It had once held a little bit more prominent role, but because of a number of changes, it was going through executive directors, like I'm going through co-hosts. It was starting to lose a little bit of its luster, and quite frankly, the money was not coming in to support a lot of the missions and a lot of the causes when you took the helm.
Well, certainly there was some turnover with leadership for a number of years prior to me getting there, for sure. And, clearly, the Greater Lowell Community Foundation and the capacity that it had was probably one of the best kept secrets in the Greater Lowell area. I think I've worked pretty hard over the last 3 years to try to turn that around. I think by and large the community has got a sense as to what we do. I think that's been evidenced on a large measure. I think, over the last 3 years, our endowment's gone from $31 million to $37 million. That's a pretty
$6 million increase.
Yeah, that's about 20%. That's not bad. We have had people that used to participate at the Greater Lowell Community Foundation had ceased and now participating again. Mm-hmm. We've got businesses that have been sponsors in the past who have come back as sponsors, and we've expanded that. So I think the message is getting out there that, we are a community foundation. And for those who are listening on the radio right now, just a moment on what a community foundation is. I mean, a community foundation at the moment, we've got some 370 different funds that add up to that $37 million. So it's not like a Gates Foundation where it's a one individual that they put their money in. We collect money on behalf of folks that have this philanthropic desire. We manage it for them, and then that money goes back out. Okay. In the course of a year, in fact, for 2018, about $1.9 million went out the door from the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. $500,000 of that was for scholarships. In fact, we just looked at the number the other day, and last evening we started the process of doing the scholarships at Lowell High because all the volunteers got together, because it's a considerable process. Mm-hmm. But for last year, it was $506,910 was the value of all the awards that went to Lowell High School students, to 260 some odd students. Beyond that, we granted in discretionary grants about $250,000. And the discretionary grants are the grants that the Greater Lowell Community Foundation gets to have additional relevance in our community, because we get to direct those at some of the major needs in our community. When I came on board back in 2016, we were saying, what should the focus of a good amount of it, not all, but a good amount of our discretionary grants go? And it was, a split second, it was the opioid issue. Let's take a look at the opioid issue. And I know more about the opioid issue today than I wish I had, but the fact of the matter is it's a huge need in our community, continues to be. And over those last couple of years, we did about $160,000 of grants, as well as just supported in a variety of different ways the many nonprofits that work daily to work on this issue.
You serve 20 different communities.
Correct.
How do you reach an area that wide?
Well, that's an excellent question, and it certainly is a challenge. I mean, as we look at the 20 different neighbors that we have, I mean, Lowell is the gateway city for sure. Right. Lowell is a place that, as you look at contemporary gateways across the Commonwealth, that look at the largest issues that we have. So clearly there's a focus on Lowell. But, folks would say, everything I give to the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, is going to go to Lowell. Not true. Lots of grants go outside the city of Lowell. About 75% of our money comes from folks in the Greater Lowell area, 25% outside, but about 50-50 in the split where the dollars go. The dollars go a variety of different places. And we do look to search and to see what we can do in the other communities. An example is the community funds that we do. We've established a community fund in Chelmsford. And community fund is a fund that gets established by a number of folks in the community, such as Chelmsford. John Chumley and John Tebow took the lead on that, along with a number of other key folks, to say, let's put together a fund where folks can donate to, and then this committee will have the ability to, from that fund, give grants. And they did that to Budget Buddies in the food bank just not too long ago. Two really great needs. We've likewise got a similar fund in Westford, same thing. And they've done things on training and workforce development. And so we try to do things like that to give folks a sense that this is their fund for their community, and reaching out to the variety of different communities. And I think part of it just becomes, one, being on the radio here this morning, letting folks know what we're doing more on social media, doing more in print and whatever it is, just to let folks know that we are an asset that folks can use to touch people in their community.
7:57 here on 980 WCAP, chatting with Jay Linnehan, the president and CEO of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. So, in essence, to kind of put down into the Cliff Notes version of what you do, what the foundation does, is you have folks, either organizations or individuals, who know they want to help. They want to do something philanthropically, but they don't necessarily know how or who they should give to. Well, is that
I think
fair
that's
and accurate?
I think that's true, and I think also there's a variety of different places where folks can do donor advised funds today. I mean, Fidelity is probably the largest. Vanguard's there too. But I had a gentleman one day that came to my office, and he was cashing out a Vanguard account, and he wanted to put it with us. And I said to him, I'm really happy you're doing this, but why are you doing this? I mean, Vanguard is pretty sophisticated. Their fees are a little less than ours. Their technology they have for an interface is more sophisticated than ours. And he goes, Vanguard doesn't need the money. Vanguard has no clue what's going on in Lowell. The additional that I'm paying to you and to your office to do the great work you're doing in the Greater Lowell community. And I said, thank you. I want to have you come back so I can videotape that and put it on our web. But that's a little of what we do. It's not just a matter of taking the money and putting it out. Is what are the needs? How do we align the needs of donors? How can we facilitate it? We were looking at one of the things I did when we first got there. I said, what are the needs in the Greater Lowell area? CTI is a great partner, and they do a needs assessment every 3 years based upon what they've required to do by the federal government. I mean, that needs assessment is eye-opening. Greater Lowell Health Alliance, likewise, does a similar thing, and that's Kerry Detremont over there, and does a similar thing. So we look at things like that and say, what are the great needs in our community? I mean, folks, we're somewhat shocked to hear that we've got a 20% poverty rate in the city of Lowell. I mean, that's a lot. And what is manifested out of poverty cuts across the board. And we spoke about opioids earlier. Absolutely, opioids are part of that. Homelessness is a piece of that. Domestic abuse is a piece of that. How do we start to align some of our resources to try to impact some of these things and make a difference in our community?
And so you mentioned coming aboard in 2016, right off the bat, the addiction crisis became a major focal point. Education, scholarships. You said you gave out $500,000 last year alone in scholarships. What are some of the areas that you see yourself focusing on going forward?
Well, we just finished a grant, some of our discretionary grants award on what we call social education. And folks go, well, what's social education? And social education is all about civic engagement, social justice, and engaging with some of the nonprofits around us that work with youth to give them the type of information and education they need to be an effective citizen in our community. And I think today, more than ever, with some of the divisiveness that's going on in our political system across our country, I think it's important for people to really have an understanding as to what the facts are and how they want to determine their life. I mean, as I say that, for example, the social education, it was teen block. We just did 12.5 to the health center. I mean, it was Boys and Girls Club for another $10,000 for the My Community Matters. History on a Race, which is the Lowell Youth Equity Conference. I mean, in UTEC. Those are the folks that we just invested in with the social education. And the return on investment on that is going to be, that's one of the things always when we look at investments, and we do it, of course, with the investments we do with our managers, is what's the ROI. The ROI on those dollars is pretty significant.
You're also doing, along with the youth services, children's services, you also do some elder services.
We do elder services as well as part of our discretionary grants. We did the elder grants, did that last year. We do that every year. And there's children, and then there's the social education. So it's a matter of just trying to identify what the greatest needs are. And the thing that it's a little disconcerting only in that we receive so many different grants for so many different needs, and we've only got so much to grant. And I just wish we had more to do. So oftentimes when people said, what's your job? I said, my job's to raise money so we can give it away. And the more I raise, the more we can give away. And the more we give away, the greater impact we have. So if anyone's listening out there and they want to give away some money, please let me know, because I can certainly help you do that. Google Greater Lowell Community Foundation. We're going to come right up. Our contact information is on there. Give me a holler. I mean, we're working with businesses. Any businesses that's doing a great job today has philanthropy as part of their strategic plan. We like to help folks do that.
And can I can I say I wanted to go to this specific city or town? I wanted to go to this specific cause? Can folks be that direct?
Absolutely. The thing that is that we've been trying really hard to do, and I think we've done a good job at it, is make it as easy as possible for people to do the things they want to do, and that is help the community. We are not a place where you walk in and it takes you 2 months to get a piece of paper executed, and then we've got lawyers and accountants looking at all this stuff. We can turn around people's philanthropic wishes in the course of a day or two. Very simple documents that need to be executed, and the whole thing is to facilitate what people want done, because it's like anything else, right? It's all about customer service. And the folks that decide to invest through the Greater Lowell Community Foundation have an objective they want to accomplish, and our goal is to help them accomplish that objective, which is ours as well.
All right. The website, glcfoundation.org.
Correct.
Greater Lowell Community Foundation.org. Ask for Jay, right? Can I tell them to ask for you directly?
Say ask for Jay. That's fine. Absolutely. They'll know who I am down there.
They most certainly do. Jay Linnehan, President and CEO of the Greater Lowell Community Foundation. Thank you for taking the time this morning, but more importantly, thank you for what you have done and what you're going to continue to do.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about it this morning. I appreciate it.
Anytime, my friend.